attack, fast fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and packs. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Kirusho here. Now, whenever we last left off with this series, Midoriya has just received the injection with the thing particles, or well, vaccine, as they so-called described it. The brightest minds in the world. They have been dealing with an alien organism and trying to add and remove certain properties. In fact, the properties they were trying to keep in, they seem to be vital to the creature, meaning that it must be the ability to adapt to atmospheres, or possibly its own environments. Now, after Midoriya was injected, the animals that the scientists have done tests on began to show off weird effects, and things going on with their bodies. In fact, they didn't show these effects up until after Midoriya's injection. And Midoriya, he is currently being monitored right now. They want to keep an eye on him and make sure he can't do anything odd. Whenever he wakes up, they're simply going to inform the young boy that he failed. The entire procedure, well, it's sort of messed up. And that they will one day try again, after they believe they've gotten things back in order. And they'll put him on a list. That being a short lie. As Midoriya, whenever he does wake up and hear this information, is a bit bummed out. Hearing that his genetics and his DNA basically might not be right for the project. They attempted it, and he failed. Feeling a bit bummed, as he does head home. Now, they released Midoriya after about a week of this information, since that was around the time the animals began to start showing these odd signs. They injected the animals with a previous version of the virus, you could say, that they gave to Midoriya. Midoriya received a new and improved version, where they believed they took out everything. And, sadly, they are wrong. Even a drop of blood of this thing getting inside your body, you're infected. However, what they did for Midoriya was quite simple. The thing's cells are inside Midoriya's body. They cannot pierce through his cell walls. They can quite simply lay and sit on top of them, and try to reproduce and remake themselves. However, Midoriya, he will be able to control the thing's abilities. Since, well, cell death and cell regrowth. These things being slowly integrated into Midoriya's body, over time. Now, Midoriya doesn't really think much of it, as today he's quite simply cooking. He wants to make something to train. He wanted to be a hero, and he's going to try. Thinking that he needs to make something proper and actually very healthy. He is not really too sure. Right now he's just cutting up vegetables, and trying to get things all in order. As while he is chopping things up, he actually does look up at the TV and see the news. Watching as there is a few things going on. There is roughly, well, a few villains, you could say, attacking. There is well, I want to say the sludge villain, but no. Anyways, there's a few villains. Some have odd and strange quirks. Midoriya is watching, as Kamari Woods does try and take them all down, along with a few of the other heroes. Deku just watching Kamari Woods stretch out his limbs and branch them off. That happening, and Midoriya suddenly just being in shock at it. Him wanting to grab his notebook, as he twists his wrist, as if he's going to write something down. The knife still in his hand. As soon as the knife does swing around, it slices directly across his arm. And he immediately just drops it and goes to actually cover it, to see if it's okay. Running over to the sink and beginning to run cold water underneath it. As he's doing that, he actually does pull his hand away. Watching as the blood slowly goes from dripping down his hand and onto his finger, beginning to back up and retreat. Midoriya just watching them go back into the wound and simply close, or beginning to. This is surprising Midoriya, who looks over at the knife and onto the ground, where his blood is, watching as it slowly begins to move up and close to Midoriya. It getting directly onto Midoriya's leg and then moving up his arm. As soon as it gets up to Midoriya and moves up to past his kneecap, he actually just fall over backwards and slam into the wall. Confused. Simply just trying to think. For a second, he thought he manifested a Quirk. And as soon as he does watch all the blood retreat back into this cut, he actually does think for a minute. It actually worked. Did it? No way. I have a Quirk. Midoriya? Well, he's proud of himself. For a second, he just thinks, what to do. This is amazing news. And he wants to inform those people back at the project about exactly what's going on. Tell them that the experiment was perfectly fine, and that his genes, they were a match. Now, Midoriya does actually go to pick up the phone. As soon as he does so, he actually does think for a second. As he gets a weird flash in his vision, and almost hits the ground, having to lean against the wall, and thinking, what the hell was that? As he does see things from the alien's point of view. Watching as you have what seems to be inside of a weird case. And there's a circular rooftop. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Midoriya feeling sloshed around and moved, as he does hear loud thumping. And, he does see something. The organism inside of the vial is Midoriya. Midoriya is reliving one of these things' memories, as he feels odd things that don't feel right. These memories don't seem to be his, but what are they? Midoriya just trying to figure it out, and he's creeped out after a while. He decides to save it for later, trying to research it, and see if anything odd's been happening. Now, after Midoriya feels these strange events pass, he then just stares at the phone for a second. And there's a strange feeling in his gut. He's not sure if it's instincts or something else. He's not really sure what to register this feeling as. It feels like feared and, he feels scared. He feels like if he picks up that phone and calls them, something's going to happen to him. He feels his nerves acting up. No, I'll call tomorrow. Midoriya going back to what he was doing. Going back to chopping vegetables. And trying to make something to eat. Before going to try and work out. Midoriya, yeah. He just looked up some All Might training videos. And what the number one hero might do to stay in shape. Trying to follow something similar to the American Dream Plan. However, it doesn't include a lot of running or stamina training, stuff like that. It's basically just push-ups, sit-ups, and a lot of exercises you can do. Along with some running in place ones. Now, Midoriya does try and do a lot of these. And after a significant amount of time, he actually does feel like he got somewhat of a good workout in. He's not too sure. He's going to have to keep up on this. And try to actually focus. Midoriya just thinking. Before going off to bed tonight. And beginning to have dreams. Now, Midoriya's dreams, they are not his own. But he can't pinpoint it. He has a sinking feeling, a strange one. And whenever he does wake up, it's gone. That strange feeling passed, as you do have at the atomic level. Midoriya, his cells, his healthy white blood cells, were fighting off the thing's supercells. The thing's cells already being altered and somewhat nerfed, they're not able to invade and hostile take over. Now, the ones that already were replicated into normal human cells, or, well, camouflage themselves, yeah, they still cannot do anything. The thing is still just trying to replicate and invade. Even then, it can't do that. It is stuck. It feels like it does not belong here. Yet, every time it does try and do anything to this, well, system, nothing happens. Now, it does get annoyed. And Midoriya, whenever he does wake up, his body feels a bit different. He doesn't feel sore, he doesn't feel, well, burnt out either. He feels like he got a full 8 hours. Hell, probably even 10 or 12. He just doesn't feel tired. And then there's his body. There should be some soreness, right? Isn't that how working out works? Or is he wrong? Did he not do it right? He followed the videos and instructions. Dang it. I knew this wasn't a good idea. Midoriya just trying to think. That thought came out of nowhere. Him just thinking that he can still try and be a hero. Try to accomplish his dream. As he does get dressed and go to school. Whenever he does arrive, a lot of people do stare at him. And they are waiting to hear the news. The company, they didn't really give a statement. And Midoriya, he blatantly out and said that he was going to be part of the experiment. Now, whenever he does walk in and sit down, quite a lot of people do begin to crowd around him. Then there is Bakugo, who just watched this. He just watches this damn nerd get a lot of attention. And he himself begins to think. If he did get a quirk, he probably got something like All Might's. Hell, multi-million-dollar, what, billion probably? Doesn't matter. What would they do? Give a quirk to that weakling? Nah, of course he would get a quirk. Hell, couldn't even be born with it himself. Baku getting annoyed. Before, finally, having enough of it, getting up and running over. As soon as he does go to blast an explosion at Midoriya's desk, Midoriya, he actually does feel this odd feeling. And he throws up his hands, going to throw them up in front of his face as his basic uniform rips at the elbows. And his arms do actually fly open, the skin on them forming a wall. And Midoriya's the muscle tissue in his arms do basically spread out to try and be a very thin wall to protect him. This happening as if it was... is that a good example? Have you guys ever seen Iron Man's air brake in the movies? Where those giant flaps just burst out of his suit? Or, I believe that's right, an air brake. Now, basically that does happen to Midoriya's arms. And he basically just jumps back and tries to get back up. Bakugo after taking a step back and seeing that. Midoriya just getting up and looking at his arms, before trying to shake them off, and get them to go back to normal. A lot of people impressed. Whatever that was, it looked like a quirk. And Midoriya does try and explain. He's not really too sure. The company said that the experiment failed. But, well, he has a power. And it's actually pretty weird. People trying to get Midoriya to explain himself. As he just goes on to state, the other day he cut his hand while he was cooking. He was trying to get on a diet. Whenever he cut his hand, everything just sort of went back in. Went back in. Yeah, it was like it never happened. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Midoriya just looking at his broken sleeves, thinking, he does feel a bit hungrier. Why? He feels like he could really go for like anything, like pizza, whatever they have for lunch. In fact, did he even eat breakfast? He's pretty sure he did. Why is it still around then? Ugh. This uncomfortable feeling being in Midoriya's guts. Bakugo simply telling Midoriya that it doesn't matter if he has a quirk now. He's nothing compared to him. You might have just gotten your quirk, but I've had my entire life to work on it. So don't think you're hot shit. Bakugo basically trying to tell off Midoriya. And Midoriya, yeah, he's not even paying attention. He's still trying to focus on his strange ability. And trying to learn about it. Whenever he was hurt, that is whenever his ability basically showed itself. Then there's whenever he had to defend himself. Both of these are similar instances, and it does actually make sense. He was provoked and is showing off. And at lunch, the same thing does happen. After Midoriya does eat and basically try and take notes on his quirk, Bakugo basically does intervene, and begin to try and bully and beat up Midoriya, trying to get his attention, and simply get him to stop. There it is once again, that confidence he has. He doesn't like it. And after beating up Midoriya, one thing does happen. Midoriya somewhat retaliates, his body beginning to act strange. And Midoriya does actually morph his arm into something. His arm suddenly begin to broke apart and act strange, basically turning inside out, you could say. And long spikes begin to protrude from his fingertips, and get jagged, covering his knuckles. His bones, yeah, they're beginning to turn muscles into calcium, basically mutating cells, and growing more at a very rapid rate. As Midoriya actually does use this thing, swinging it around and trying to fight as if his life depends on it. And Bakugo actually does go on the defensive, basically trying to use his Quirk and blast at Midoriya. Him directly impacting Midoriya's arm as Midoriya basically swings it around and tries to wave off Bakugo. He's swinging it around very recklessly, and Bakugo, he's dodging, unaware of exactly how much danger he's actually in. Simply telling Midoriya that he is not special. That isn't even his own quirk. He was given a quirk. That just makes him a freak, even among normal people. Before him and his goons do run off, Midoriya does actually look at his arm, watching as it begins to mutate back, or, well, fold inside out to look normal again. Midoriya examining his skin. Whenever he actually does press down on it, his skin does actually begin to fold apart and move. Midoriya being able to actually look at his veins and finding that a bit odd. What is happening? Is he... No. They said that the experiment, it failed, but... I really should tell someone. Then again, yeah, I'll do it later. Now, Midoriya, he put this off again. And he actually does leave, beginning to head home. He takes the longer way. It's a lot easier to clear his head, since he doesn't want to go on a shortcut. He actually does want this time to himself. Now, Midoriya, he makes a mistake. This little bit of extra time he could use for himself means that he will not meet All Might and have that encounter. Now, All Might, in this timeline, does capture the sludge villain and take it to the authorities. It doesn't get loose from him, because as soon as he's able to punch it away and bottle it, he shrinks down, then beginning to just walk to a police station with it. He doesn't jump away or do anything fancy. He takes it out in the tunnel and puts it in a bottle. The sludge villain almost got away though. That is basically the gist of it. Now, anyway guys, if my voice did sound different or, well, even a bit odd, it is because I basically screamed as loud as I could in the parking lot of my work. Somebody tried to steal my car, and actually did rip out and pull out a lot of important things. I'm going to need to replace them in order just to drive it. Then there's my window. Anyways, yeah, didn't take anything else from my car though. Surprisingly, nothing was stolen, even though it was basically left unlocked. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And I'm going to go back to basically staring at my car to make sure it doesn't get stolen. That sounds made up, but it's actually not. I'm very concerned about it.